Okay, where am I? Hello, hello, the ad isn't done, but I don't care. I don't care, I'm here, and we're reading Remnants of Filth. Let me take off my jacket, and let's get filthy. How are you today? How's everyone doing today? You're so cute, my. Anyway. First of all, sorry I'm late. My dishwasher was running because I forgot to run it last night, even though I loaded it and everything. I put the soap in, I just forgot to fucking run it. So that's that. And your frog? Frog! Whee! Okay, anyway. We're here to read Remnants of Filth. Wow, okay. You know, I thought it was done. I thought my dishwasher was done. Clearly I was wrong. But it's not that bad, is it? Is that really that bad? Oh god. Why are these streams always so cursed? You know what? Fuck it. We're gonna read over it. Deal with it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. This is what we're dealing with. It's fine? Okay, thank you. I have some tea and I have honey! I don't know if it's any good because it was really cheap. But that's fine. Let's read! We're on chapter 53 of volume 2, page 221. Let me get my book up. My book! There it is. There it is. Be seen. What the fuck happened before this? It's very possible that something he wouldn't have otherwise recalled could be brought back by something as insignificant as a whiff of scent. You must remember this. Is what Jang Hu-li said to... Oh my god, I don't remember where we left off, but I think it'll come back to us as we go, okay? Okay. 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 Let's get started. Let's get started. Oh god. Get ready for the angst. Gumang didn't like drinking the medicine Jang Hu-li had prescribed. The reason was very simple. It was too spicy. Jang Hu-li's formulation triggered coughs at the first sip. The master himself had said that the medicine's flavor absolutely couldn't be changed without sacrificing its efficiency. This left Li Wei at a loss. Don't they say sweet fragrances are cleansing? Shouldn't emotional troubles be treated with sweet medicine? When word of this reached Jang Hu-li, his response was, "The hell does he know? Who's the medicine master? Him or me?" Thus, the sight of Li Wei chasing Gumang in desperation, begging and pleading with his noble self to please take his medicine, became a daily occurrence in Jihe Manor. It was a scene of utter chaos that never failed to take up at least an hour. Moji liked peace and quiet and hated noise, so Li Wei usually tried to force-feed Gumang his medicine only while Moji was at court. But today, Gumang's resistance proved to be too much. Li Wei had crashed into a dozen other servants, and he still hadn't nabbed Gumang. To add injury to insult, Gumang had even kicked Li Wei squarely in the chest, nearly causing him to break the medicine jar. Seeing that Gumang was about to escape the yard, Li Wei shouted as he chased after him, "Grab him! Grab him! Use the immortal binding ropes! God damn it!" As Gumang sprinted away, he turned to glance behind him. With a sudden thud, he crashed into something both hot and hard. I wonder what the fuck it could be. He hissed in pain and clutched his forehead. When he looked up, he met Moji's dark eyes, which leveled him with a cold stare. "What are you doing?" Moji asked, towering over Gumang. Panting, Li Wei caught up to them and shouted, my lord, he won't take his medicine." Moji had just returned from court and was still and was still wreathed in the icy chill of the outside air. For a moment he stared at Gumong in silence. Just as Gumong realized he was in deep trouble and prepared to flee, Moji grabbed his wrist, his eyes fixed on his quarry. Moji raised his other hand. Li Wei. I'm here. Give me the medicine jar. Moji hauled Gumong into the side room, kicked the door shut with a boot, and shoved Gumong against the wall. The room was dim behind the hanging bamboo curtains. In the darkness, Moji's eyes glowed with a gloomy light. After staring at Gumong for some time, he bit out, You've lost all your good habits, yet your bad ones haven't changed in the slightest. And there's a scene break, and I'm guessing we're gonna go into a flashback. Gumong had had the same trouble in the past. He'd rather remain sick than take his medicine, exactly like how he was now. Moji recalled a time he paid Gumong a visit back then. Gumong had been curled up in his tent, grumbling as he lay wrapped in blankets, only an errant lock of black hair. What? Only an errant lock. What? What the fuck does errant mean? Whatever. Only an errant lock of black hair visible. When he heard someone come in, he thought it was Lu Jiangxing. Without even bothering to open his eyes, he muttered, Jiangxing, don't bring me more medicine. I won't fucking drink it. The smell is gross enough. The young Moji walked over to him, put the steaming medicine on the table, and sat down next to the bed. It's me, he murmured. Holy shit! Gumong stuck his head out of the blankets, drowsy-eyed and scarlet-cheeked with fever. What are you doing here? He mumbled. Moji didn't respond. He reached out and touched Gumong's face. Take your medicine. I won't. Gumong rolled his eyes and tried to burrow back into his blankets, but Moji pulled him out again. Fine then. Keep burning up. Sure. Whatever. Once the fever cooks me through, I can eat my... What the fuck? Once the fever cooks me through, I can eat myself. The medicine is too disgusting. I won't touch it. Moji frowned. Are you even a man? Now this bothered Gumong. He whipped his head around and glared as sharply as he could through hazy and feverish eyes. You don't know if I'm a man? He grumbled. You couldn't tell when you slept with me? You little bastard. Your Guga's a selfless patriot who's fucking burning up to high heaven. It's one thing if you're not clapping for me and giving me flowers, but you're actually questioning my sex, you little scoundrel. This guy's too much. Gumong was half awake and delirious, sniffling and mumbling a stream of pure nonsense. Moji took this all in with amusement and tenderness. He gazed with gentle eyes as his Shiga curled up in his messy pile of blankets. It's easy for you to say, muttered Gumong, his cheeks flaming red. You have no idea how bitter this goddamn medicine is. This was meant to be a compliment. What? No, this was meant to be a complaint, as if he were fully awake. And if he were fully awake, Gumong would definitely have used a swaggering tone full of brash arrogance. Alas, he wasn't in the right state to pull it off. His eyes were unfocused and his lips were wet. His manner, as he upbraided Moji, wasn't the least bit imposing. Rather, all that remained was boundless softness. If Moji had voiced his thoughts at that moment, Gumong would have definitely flown into a rage, sickness be damned, and throttled him. Because to Moji, Gumong seemed like he was acting pouty on purpose. This flight of fancy made him feel warm and impulsive. He looked down at Gu Shishong, tangled up in the blankets, and for a long while he stared. Then, with his eyes still fixed on Gumong's face, he picked up the bowl of medicine on the table. Gumong thought Moji was going to force it down his throat. He was so mad he started yelling, Moji, get the fuck out of here! I said I won't drink it, and I mean it! The rest of the sentence never left his mouth. His Moshiri had actually taken a sip of the medicine and then dipped his head to kiss him. The bitterness of the medicine filled both their mouths, but Gumong's senses were completely drowned out by Moji's blazing breath and his rough and insistent tongue. Gumong felt disoriented, like he was a blackout drunk. His eyes flew open. The medicine was highly concentrated, so there wasn't much in the bowl, but Moji kissed him at least a dozen times before it was gone. By then, Moji had finally returned to his senses and wanted to call him a little madman, but that rough tongue, having fed him the last few drops, pressed into his mouth. As their lips entwined ferociously, some medicine even dripped from the corner of Gumong's mouth. Interesting, very interesting. Interesting development here. Okay, that's fine. Back then, they had been young and reckless, their newborn love flourishing so fearlessly in their hearts that, when they were caught up in each other, they didn't even care that someone might lift the tent flap and see. When Moji finally let go of Gumong, he nuzzled his goose Shiga's cheek. He stared at Gumong, the flushed face beneath him reflected in his dark pupils. It was as if he wished to build an impregnable... that's crazy. Cage in his eyes and trap this singular reflection within it for the rest of eternity. Moji's voice was a little hoarse. He caressed Gumong's lips with his kisses. What? He caressed Gumong's lips with his kisses, which his kisses had left wet and slightly swollen. Is it bitter? He asked, his voice low and captivating. Why do I then think that Shishong's very sweet? Oh my god, oh gee. Gumong gritted his teeth. Not candy. Sweet my ass. Moji gazed into his eyes. They were so close that every time they blinked their lashes nearly brushed. He murmured, If I hear about you making a fuss like this when you need to take medicine, I'll feed you like this each and every time. That way, you can't tell me I have no idea what it's like. I know you don't like bitter things, so I'll share in all your bitterness. That has so much weight to it. What the fuck? Gumong rolled his eyes. Me? Afraid of bitterness? Funny joke. Could your Gumong Gaga be scared of a little bitterness? In response, Moji only tapped his forehead and rose, wiping the corner of his mouth. I need a headband or something. I'm sorry, my hair is getting in my face and it is driving me insane. Especially, I seem to be developing eczema on my eyes again, which is not very fun, but I can deal with it. Okay. Gumong squinted at him. After a long pause, he snickered. I realize that you're not actually a proper gentleman. Although you're stuffy, you've sure got quite the imagination. The young Moji was prone to embarrassment. He tried his best to feign calm, but this assessment of himself still made his ears flush red. Once you get married, Gumong continued, I'll count it as that maiden's good fortune. Moji whipped around to stare at him. Back then, he'd wanted to say, ooh, reverb time. He'd wanted to say, no, that's not true. When I choose someone, I mean it for a lifetime. In life or death, in poverty or in riches. I'll only follow in his footsteps. I'll only want him and him alone. Don't you understand? His lips moved, but he knew, without saying it, how Gumong would respond. Gumong would brush it off and subject him to a grating lecture on nonsense like promiscuity is male instinct. Gumong didn't understand that some people's hearts shouldn't be touched. They never played around. Rather, they were the solitary guardians of the pure affection they held cupped in their hands. They only had a little bit of romance in their hearts, just enough to lavish on a singular person in all their life. Gumong had enough affection to rival the rivers and the lakes. He wouldn't understand. Oh! Hi, gay. Ow! Wow, wow, wow. Oh my god. Poetry. I'm telling you. I do love that. It's so demi-romantic of him. Oh god. In the present, in the dim side room, Moji stared into Gumong's blue eyes. After his bones had been broken and his souls removed, after so much had changed, how did he still have this infuriating problem? Open your mouth, Moji ordered. Gumong glared at him in clear refusal. Moji grabbed him by the jaw and moved to pour it down his throat. At first, Gumong kept his lips clamped shut, but Moji wasn't planning to play nice. He covered Gumong's mouth and nose so he couldn't breathe. He waited until Gumong was red-faced and struggling before abruptly letting go. As Gumong opened his mouth to gasp for air, Moji grabbed his chin and poured the medicine in. Gumong burst out coughing and his eyes reddened as he rasped, "Why are you making me drink this?" Also, can I just say, that really bothers me, because if you're gonna pour something down their throat while they're trying to breathe, that's good. That's opening their airways and oh my god. Obviously they're gonna choke and might just spit it all up. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. That's not... It's not resourceful isn't the word. Functional? I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Moji gritted his teeth and snapped. "Because there's something wrong with you. From now on, when Li Wei asks you to take your medicine, you'd better drink it, obediently," he warned. "If you refuse, then I have no choice but to administer it myself, I'll do it by force." He caught sight of a drop of medicine in the corner of Gumong's mouth. "Clean yourself up," he said, and then strode away without a backward glance. It's the littlest fucking things. It's the tiniest, littlest things. Oh my god. Another scene break. After that, Gumong was obedient indeed. Li Wei always gave him a bowl of milk or a piece of candy after he took his medicine. Moji, on the other hand, gave him nothing, but instead stared at him with an inscrutable expression after forcing him to swallow it down. Gumong didn't understand what the stare meant, but he felt an indistinctive chill at the back of his neck. They finished one full course of treatment in this manner. 3 days before the end of year ceremony, Moji took Gumong to the Jiang residence for a second examination. Housekeeper Zhou led them through the great hall into a lavishly decorated room where Jiang Huli was in conversation with a middle-aged man. The man wore a cultivator's robes and of purple trimmed in gold, signifying his noble bloodline. However, his face was exhausted and his posture was hunched. He looked nothing like a high-spirited aristocrat. A young girl with delicate features waited at his side, also dressed in purple clothes with golden trim. She kept her head bowed and said not a word. Holding a little bamboo dragonfly in her hand, she looked endearingly sweet. Moji didn't recognize this downtrodden noble at first, but as soon as he saw the child, he realized that this must be Chang Feng-jun and his daughter, his heart-mad daughter. As they walked in, Chang Feng-jun was wiping his tears and stammering his thanks to Jiang Fuli. "You should go back to your manor," said Jiang Fuli. "Your daughter can stay here temporarily. Since I have been paid well, I'll take good care of her, of course. You needn't worry." "I'm just so thankful to Medicine Master Jiang. The memorial ceremony is in 3 days. I won't be in the capital, and there's no way I could feel at ease if I left Lan at home." Good business is good business. You're neither buying on credit nor owing me money, so what are you thanking me for? Changfun, what? That's weird. That's. Oh no, it's right, never mind. Changfeng Jun patted the little girl, Laner's, head, striving to summon some cheer on his weary face. Sweetheart, in a few days, Papa will be going to this memorial ceremony to help His Imperial Majesty. It's a hard journey, so I can't take you along. You need to be good and stay in Dr. Zhang's manor. Don't cause him any trouble, okay? Though Lan was young, it was obvious that she had already been pushed around and bullied a great deal on account of her illness. She seemed extraordinarily sensible and obedient. Her words and actions were all very soft, as if she feared she'd be left behind or bring harm to others. Papa, how long will you be gone? Not long at all. I'll be 7 days at most before it'll be 7 days at most before Papa will be back to pick you up. Lanner's eyes welled with tears, but she held them back and nodded silently. Changfeng Jun thanked Zhang Puli again and turned his head just in time to see Moji and Gumeng enter the residence. Probably skittish because the other noble families had shunned him so completely, this middle-aged man with graying temples started like... Do you mind? Hey, do you mind? Okay. Where was I? God damn it. Probably skittish because the other noble families had shunned him so completely, this middle-aged man with graying temples started like a bird at the twang of a bow. Trembling with a terror unbefitting his age and station, he ducked his head. Jihajun. Moji found this a difficult sight to bear, but stiff as he was, he merely uttered a word of greeting. As far as he knew, Changfeng Jun had always been honest and dutiful and never involved himself in petty conflicts. These qualities had doomed his noble lineage to cede power and influence by the day. Eventually, some of the capital's common-born cultivators disregarded him. Fucked up. After Changfeng Jun respectfully greeted Moji, his fearful eyes flickered toward Gumeng. At the same time, Moji's gaze shifted to land on little Lan who was standing beside Zhang Fuli. Each sensing the object of the other's attention, they spoke at the same time in the same protective tone. He isn't in danger. What? He isn't a danger, Moji said. She isn't a danger, Changfeng Jun said. The two of them lapsed into an embarrassed silence. In the end, Moji was the one to break it. I understand. Don't worry. These days, Changfeng Jun had to explain his daughter's illness wherever he went and beg each noble family not to expel his daughter from the academy and break her spiritual core. He had suffered untold hardship and humiliation. Upon hearing Jihujin's somewhat gracious words, he felt a twinge in his heart and was brought to the verge of tears. He lowered his head to thank Moji and glanced behind him once more at Lanner. Worried that the longer he stayed, the less he could bear to part from her, he turned to leave the manor. Zhang Puli took Gumeng's pulse and adjusted the prescription anew. Then he rose to his feet. Glancing at Gumeng and little Lanner, he said, Jihujun, let's step out to the rear courtyard to talk. Moji frowned. And leave them here? Housekeeper Zhou smiled. Jihujun can rest assured. I'm here to keep watch. Nothing will happen. If my patients are able to cause any trouble in my manor, I might as well close up shop, said Zhang Fuli. He glanced at the black ring around Gumeng's neck and continued with audible scorn. Besides, isn't Gumeng wearing the slave collar Jihujun gave him? Moji did in fact know that Zhang Manor's fortifications were on par with those of Yue Manor's. Nothing would go wrong if they stepped away only briefly. He just felt vaguely uneasy and fretful at the thought of Gumeng leaving his line of sight while they were out. This feeling hadn't subsided even as they spent more time together, or rather, it had grown only more stubborn and intense. If this went on, Zhang Fuli would likely be gaining yet another patient, Moji himself. The rear courtyard of Jiang Manor was home to all sorts of rare plants. Spiritual energy circulated here year-round, and it was luxuriously fragrant, fuck, in all 4 seasons. Jiang Fuli and Moji conversed as they strolled along the meandering colonnade. Colonnade? The end of year ceremony is in 2 days, Jiang Fuli said. You pure-blooded nobles are all accompanying His Imperial Majesties to the soul-calling abyss to offer sacrifice, correct? Moji nodded, as we do each year. Chang Fengjun entrusted his daughter to me, but what about you? What is your plan? Gumong is too dangerous. I will inform His Imperial Majesty that I intend to bring him with me. I thought you'd say that, replied Zhang Fuli. However, I have something important to tell you. He stopped and turned around, framed by the flowers and the sky, his hands clasped behind his back. Gumong's pulse is very steady and shows signs of recovery. On your way to the soul-calling abyss, you must be careful. Anywhere from 5 days to a month from now, he will remember some fragmented pieces. Moji's heart pounded, and his nails dug into his palms. I'll give you another 7 doses of medicine. Hopefully that'll be enough for the journey. If by chance what he remembers is unfavorable for Chonghua, you can lock him up, Zhang Fuli added. But life is never predictable. Jihujun, he'll recover his first memories in the coming days. You must be prepared. And that's the end of the chapter. Ooh! End of the chapter. The next chapter is called In the Baths. So we're gonna read that. In the baths. What happens in the baths? I wonder what could happen. That's really good tea, and this honey is actually really not bad. Okay. Page 233. It is a bit weak, though. I'll say that. After retrieving the medicine, it was time for Moji to take Gumong home. He and Zhang Fuli returned to the hall to see Gumong sitting on the ground talking with little Lan'er. Or perhaps more accurately, little Lan'er was teaching Gumong how to talk. Dragonfly, she said quietly as she held up the bamboo trinket in her hand. Gumong nodded and echoed, Dragonfly. When dragonflies fly low, it will rain. Gumong nodded along, blue eyes fixed unblinkingly on that bamboo dragonfly. Lan'er noticed his longing gaze. She tilted her head in quick thought, then handed the little figure to him. Dagaga, if you like it, I'll give it to you. Gumong's eyes flew wide. For me? It had been a long time since this little girl had someone to talk to. A shy and gentle smile spread over her delicate face. Cheeks dimpling, she said, I'm giving it to you. Gumong's eyes shone in surprise and delight as he accepted the bamboo dragonfly. He lovingly cupped it in his palms as if he had received some rare treasure and gazed at it for a long time. Then he held it aloft and made it fly before Lan'er. One was tall and one was small, but both laughed. Engrossed in their game, neither noticed that Zhang Fuli and Moji had returned. Gumong tucked the little dragonfly into her hair and smiled. It looks pretty like this. It looks pretty on Dagaga's head, too. At this, Gumong placed the dragonfly on his own head. The two of them giggled up another storm. Then Gumong, after a moment's thought, pressed the dragonfly back into little Lan'er's hand. I'm done playing with it. I'm giving it back to you. Lan'er was startled. Why? I can't take other people's things whenever I want. I live with a very, 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 very mean person. Gumong waved his hands in great big circles, as if supplementing his paltry vocabulary with gestures in order to fully demonstrate just how ill-natured this person was. Very mean. When I'm in his territory, I have to listen to him. If I don't, he feeds me very spicy medicine and howls at me. Moji blinked. Lanar couldn't help the pity that rose on her face. She reached out a small hand and patted Gumong's head. Sorry. What? No. Okay. There we go. Did they they have in the past, but not. Well, they did in the first book, but in the past, in a flashback. That was a while ago, but not in this book yet. Right. She reached out a small hand and patted Gumong's head. Dagaga is so unfortunate. After a pause, she continued, but this is just one little dragonfly, and it's not expensive, so he won't blame you. I'm giving it to you. Next time, will you play with me again? I like playing with you, but I can't take this dragonfly, Gumong answered plainly. The little girl's face brightened at the first sentence, but some disappointment appeared upon the second. It's not really expensive, she said softly. Oh. You have to work to get things. This is the Jihe Manor rule, said Gumong. Or you need to bed me, then... Oh boy. He was still speaking when Moji hauled him away. Moji shot him a vicious glare and snapped. You want a 7-year-old girl to bed you? Have you no shame? We're leaving. Come on. He doesn't know. Behind the two of them, Yang Kuli tucked his hands in his sleeves and said solemnly, Jihujun, don't forget what I told you. I know I'm giving him this cunty-ass voice, but he just seems so cunty to me. Chonghua's end-of-year memorial ceremony required the emperor and nobles to offer sacrifices to past generations of their martyred heroes. At Chonghua's southeastern border, there was a ravine with deep, calm waters at its bottom that flowed all the way to Baidi city of western Shu. It was said that this river ran beyond the 9 provinces and into the Soul River of the underworld. This was the only link between the world of the dead and the world of the living. Changhua was a nation that placed great emphasis on funeral rites, and its rules were solemn and strict. Every year before New Year's Eve, the emperor led a procession of state officials to the abyssal river to offer sacrifice. This year, naturally, was no different. Li Wei as was his custom, took out Moji's ceremonial robes the night before they were to depart. He knocked on the door of Moji's study with the robes in his arms. Come in. Li Wei entered the room. Moji was sitting by a round window framed in black bamboo, reading quietly. No matter how many times he saw him, Li Wei would always sigh. His lord was a rare beauty indeed. He can appreciate. Sorry, I'm putting my wrist brace on, real quick, because my wrist is hurting. No shit. Anyway. Moji was tall and handsome, to be sure, and his sharpness that had been hammered bone deep into him was overpowering. All that aside, when considering his face in isolation, one might find Moji's features to be exceedingly delicate and elegant. Although he was already 30, when he traded his imperial military uniform for a set of relaxed robes to read under the lamplight, he looked refined and youthful. But this was hardly surprising. As the empire's god of war, he always maintained the most stringent discipline and was rigorously strict with himself. He was steadfastly unaffected by the ephemeral vices of others. Thus, he was always strong and clear-eyed, as upright as a grove of pine or cypress. The aura of this man What? The aura this man commanded declared that he was at his best and would remain so forever. Li Wei wasn't attracted to men, but when he looked at Moji, he frequently found himself dazed by his beauty. Moji flipped another page in his book and skimmed a couple of lines. Before Li Wei could say anything, Moji turned to him and knitted those sharp brows. What is it? Oh. Li Wei shook his head and returned to his senses. My lord, it's getting late. You'll need to be awake before dawn tomorrow, so you should go and wash up soon. Jesus. Moji glanced at the water clock. It was getting late indeed. He rose and said, All right, then paused, remembering something. Where did Gumon go? Isn't my lord taking him along to the memorial ceremony? This subordinate sent him to get himself in order. I told him to clean himself up a bit. What's gonna happen? Moji nodded. Li Wei was always meticulous and took care of most things without Moji needing to worry about them. In the courtyard within the deepest recesses of Jihe Manor, there was a hot spring where Moji usually bathed. Changhua had many ground-fed hot springs, and almost every noble residence had one such pool. It was said that Wangshu Manor's hot spring represented the peak of extravagance, that they had everything from beds to reflexology stones and an aromatherapy terrace. Bat totems were chiseled into the sides of the pool, and the waters that flowed over them shone a dazzling gold. Moji, however, was not particularly interested in indulgence. His hot spring pool was the simplest in Changhua, and the most natural. It was hewn of mountain stone and surrounded by greenery. Its shape was the same as when it had been carved, and he never bothered to have it renovated. Jihe Manor's hot spring differed from the hot springs of other nobles in another major way: servants. When other noble lords bathed, they required servant girls, aromatherapists, and even pipa performers. In short, anything they could ever need. But Moji had never allowed anyone inside his hot spring to serve him. Years of military campaigns had instilled in him an instinctual vigilance toward others. He couldn't fully relax if anyone else was around, even if they were loyal servants who had been with him for many years. I wonder what's gonna change about that in this next segment. The courtyard containing the hot spring was filled with dense mist. The fallen flowers lay scattered across the limestone path. Moji entered the small black bamboo pavilion. This was where he changed. The pavilion was furnished very simply, with only a crooked side table, a stone bench, a bamboo clothes rack, and an enormous bronze mirror from Yurei Manor, which was as tall as he was. Oh, I'm sorry, my nose. I took my meds late. That tea is so good. Moji undressed, one layer after another, and left his clothes neatly folded on the table. He undid his inky hair and tied it into a high ponytail before stepping out toward the springs. The water was clear, and the night was still. The bright moonlight above and fragrant flowers all around him. Waves rippled as he slipped into the pool. Lotuses, nourished by spiritual energy, grew within the hot spring, the blossoms ranging from brilliant sunset reds to lustrous jade whites. However, none of them rivaled Jihujin's reflection on the water. But it's just letting us know constantly, time and time again, that this man is hot. He is smoking. He is so sexy and so fucking beautiful. She just needs to let us know that. We have to know that. The hazy steam rising from the water's surface made his features seem even more refined in contrast. He slowly relaxed the tension in his spine and leaned back against the hot stones of the pool, his eyelids drifting shut. His surroundings were quiet. There was only a murmur of flowing water, the soft sounds of flowers landing on the surface, as well as several sloshing noises in quick succession, followed by a loud splash. Who could have guessed it? Moji's eyes flew open just in time to receive a faceful of water. He couldn't believe his eyes. Gumong had swum out from some hidden corner and surfaced with a noisy splash. His blue eyes were dark and gleaming like brocade, and a lotus leaf was draped over his head. He's so cute. At the sight of Moji's bloodless face, Gumong wiped off the water on his own, unperturbed. My lord also came to wash up. You. Moji felt as if there was some obstruction in his chest. He was unexpectedly struck speechless. He glared at the man in front of him, ears ringing with fury and bewilderment. Only after a long moment did he manage to bite out. What are you doing here? Li Wei told me to take a bath, said Gumong, so I looked around and found this place. You better get the hell out. But I'm not clean yet. Get the hell out! Gumong had no other choice. He was tactful. He knew that Moji's temper was bad, and in any case, he didn't want to fight with him. Without another word, he stood up, the lotus leaf still on his head, and walked up the steps. Unlike Moji, who was accustomed to wearing a layer of underclothes even in the hot spring, Gumong had undressed down to nothing. As Moji watched him step out of the water, those slender, strong legs were immediately visible through the mist. As if scalding, Moji turned his face aside at once. His ears had reddened completely. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how much lag there is. Sorry, that was a complete distraction. Okay, it's fine. As if scalded, Moji turned his face aside at once. His ears had reddened completely. Hurry up and get dressed. Mm-hmm. Gumong stepped ashore, the sounds of his footfalls signaling his departure. Perhaps because his mind had been damaged, Gumong was often forgetful. By the time he came out of the water, he had forgotten which nook or cranny he had tossed his clothes into. He looked around and noticed the neatly arranged ceremonial robes Moji had placed on the black bamboo table. His clothes and Moji's clothes were both clothes. He couldn't find his, so why not accept this convenient alternative and wear Moji's instead? With this thought, Gumong scratched his head and walked over. The robes fluttered as he shook them out. He started pulling them on, layer by layer, inner robe, then belt, then silk ribbon. After he had put on everything else, Gumong's eyes landed on this ribbon. He held it in his grasp, confused and unsure where to put it. Silk ribbon, where was it supposed to be worn? He stood in front of the hazy bronze mirror and held it up to his body to test out the possibilities. It was too thin to be a belt and too thick to be a hair ribbon. He stared blankly at his reflection for a long time. Suddenly, a sharp pain bore into his skull. Gumong brought his hand to his forehead in a series of memory fragments. What? Gumong brought his hand to his forehead as a series of memory fragments flashed before his eyes. In that familiar scene, on the deck of a boat, a man with indistinct features stood before him and rasped, Gumong, turn back. Turn back. He didn't know why he'd see something so odd, but he dimly sensed that he'd been crookedly wearing a blue and gold ribbon just like this one. He heard himself scoffing as he spoke to that man, who had come to look for him in despair. No matter how much of my life I devoted to your honorable country, no matter how many merits I achieved, I never dreamt of attaining this kind of pure-blooded nobles' ribbon, all on account of my birth. That man's voice was bloodthirsty, grief-stricken, and furious. It was strange how someone working to repress so many emotions and shouldering so many contradictions could speak so calmly and persistently. The other figure replied, That's the merit ribbon. It belongs solely to the descendants of the martyred heroes. Take it off. Is it? This was worn by a cultivator who looked pretty young. I cut off his head and saw this ribbon was quite well made. It'd be wasted on a corpse, so... So what? The scene flashed by and Gumong snapped out of his daze. He was simultaneously amazed by the dialogue that had suddenly appeared in his mind and startled by the sense of déjà vu that this ribbon had evoked. He looked at himself in the bronze mirror. He hesitated. In the end, standing before his reflection, he raised the ribbon with trembling hands and tied it over his forehead. Yes, this was the place. There seemed to be a dormant longing in his heart, a kind of indescribable anguish and urgency. It was like he had been waiting to wear this ribbon for a long, long time. Throughout all of this, Moji hadn't spared him a glance. When Gumong finished dressing, he returned to the side of the pool. I'm done. Should I wait for you? He asked. Only then did Moji turn his face, expression stormy and lips pressed into a thin line. What he beheld left him frozen in shock. A furious surge of hatred mixed with a fiery stream of something he couldn't name, roared through his head. Gumong. There, amid the moonlight flowers, Gumong stood in ceremonial robes that gleamed like snow, the hems of the sleeves shimmering gold, 3 layers of belts crisscrossed across his waist, and the train brushed the ground, but these details were all insignificant. It was the blue and gold ribbon on Gumong's forehead that made Moji's eyes begin to redden. That was the ceremonial emblem worn by the descendants of Chonghua's heroes, for the most honored of their deceased ancestors. Generations of the Mo clan had served their nation, so this ribbon was an essential part of their family regalia whenever they offered sacrifice. The one Gumong wore had belonged to Moji's father. Moji felt the twist of a knife in his chest. The agony of splitting flesh seemed to rush at him from the past. Nearly apoplectic? What? Apoplectic? He raged. You! How dare you! Gumong was startled. Huh? Who let you touch those things? Snapped Moji. Take the soul emblem off your head. Gumong didn't know why he was suddenly filled with a new and insistent defiance. He took a step back and said 2 curt words to the man in the hot spring. I won't. These simple words ignited an explosion, like sparks landing on sizzling oil. Gumong saw Moji's eyes blaze bright, fury raging within them. His gallant face turned terrifying. Gumong could almost see the city of rationality in Moji's eyes burn down, scorched wood falling and flames flaring in his gaze. Moji emerged from the water with a loud splash. His snow-white inner robe gaped open as water steamed from his sturdy, heaving chest. His eyes were violent and hot, his entire body emanating an aura of terrible wrath, like black storm clouds pressed in the city walls. Gumong turned to run. Moji was still in the pool, but he rushed out and caught hold of Gumong's wrist. With a swift jerk, water splashed across the stones as he pulled Gumong bodily into the spring. What? No way! What? That's the end of the chapter. The next chapter is chapter 55, titled Don't You Know How Dirty You Are? So that's something. It has an illustration. It has an illustration. I'm gonna cry. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna take a short ad break and then we're gonna come back to this and read this chapter. Might be the last one, might not be, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah. I will be right back. Okay? Okay. See you soon. Burp. Okay, we're back. Hi, hi. Hi, hi. Alright, let's continue. Let's read Don't You Know How Dirty You Are? Don't you know how dirty you are? On page 243. This is something. This is something. This is something. Alright. Gumong was caught off guard. He had no time to get his bearings and tumbled fecklessly into the deep end of the spring. Only after he had gulped down many mouthfuls of water did Moji yank him back up and shove him against the side of the pool. Moji reached over to pull the ribbon off his head. For some reason, this triggered a desperate panic in Gumong's heart. He began to thrash violently. The ceremonial robes he was wearing were already completely soaked. Pinned beneath Moji, he seemed like a trapped animal or a dying fish. No, don't! In the depths of his memories, there had once been someone who had furiously and hatefully wanted to take this from him. But Gumong couldn't remember who. He couldn't even tell if this was something he'd imagined, or if it had truly happened. He only knew that his heart ached. He only knew dimly that this silk ribbon was his. He deserved it. He wanted it. He longed for it. But he could only look at it from afar. Give it back. No, I won't. The two of them began to tussle furiously right there in the hot spring. The churning waters scattered the moon's reflection. In his agitation, Gumong sank his teeth into Moji's hand. Because Gumong's core had been broken, he no longer possessed any spiritual energy. His body was covered in scars, and his strength was nothing like it used to be. He was no match for Moji, who painstakingly maintained himself. These days, what? Something is wrong with my face. Throat was feeling a little ashy. Okay. These days, Gumong Guga could never match his Moshiri in a fight. He had to resort to this ridiculous and bestial course of action to defend what he yearned for, a yearning that would go unanswered in life and in death. Moji was incensed beyond endurance. He could bear Gumong stabbing him and betraying him, but taking this ribbon violated the strictest taboo in his heart. This was the ribbon that had once belonged to his father. His papa had died at the hands of the Lao Kingdom's cavalry as he evacuated citizens of Changhua from their city. This ribbon was the last thing he had left for Moji. How dare Gumong touch it? His heart roared with towering flames. Gumong's bite had been vicious. The back of his hand was bleeding freely, but Moji didn't feel the slightest twinge of pain. The blood in his hands matched his eyes, bloodshot with rage. Heeding nothing, he tore his hand from between Gumong's teeth and seized the ribbon, then soundly slapped Gumong across the face. The strike landed crisply, both heavy and cruel, as if intended to pay back 7 years of hatred in this one blow. Moji's own hand stung painfully afterwards, and the tip of his fingers trembled with his turbulently fluctuating emotions. There was hatred in his gaze, but as the mist rose, his eyes were wet. Moji swallowed. He tried to master himself enough to speak, but when his lips moved, no sound came out. Only after he closed his eyes for a long interval did he manage any words. Gumong, he rasped, his voice terribly hoarse. Don't you know how dirty you are? Gumong turned his face away, his ears ringing from the slap. He said nothing. His cheek was swollen, his lips still bloody from biting Moji. In truth, he couldn't really understand what Moji was saying. It was just that his heart seemed to hurt very badly. It was as if he had lived in constant fear of hearing those words from the man before him, from years ago. Don't you know how dirty you are? Don't you know your place? How could you ever be good enough? It was as if, all this time, he had been readying himself for Moji to say this to him. Even with his memory stripped away, his instinctive defensiveness and the stab of pain that came with it still remained. Moji exhaled and released him. Get out, he said in a low voice. I don't want to see you again. The ribbon had been torn off, leaving a pathetic mark on Gumong's forehead. He moved his lips and tried his best to speak, but he couldn't say anything in the end. He only glanced silently at Moji, the rims of his eyes red, then clambered out of the hot springs in pitiable exhaustion. Hi, Mindaris. Don't fight me, I'm already sad. I'm already sad because of this book. No, he could never defeat him. He could never defeat anyone. Rarely did he want anything, but when he did, this was what he got. Before he left the hot spring courtyard, Gumong turned one last time to look at Moji, who was still holding the ribbon in his hand. I'm sorry, he murmured. But I really felt like that was something important to me. I really did. Moji still hadn't turned around. Get the hell out, he barked. Gumong knew he couldn't say more. He bit his bloody lip, lowered his head, and slowly walked out of the courtyard. When Li Wei saw Gumong appear in the hall, he was shocked speechless. Housekeeper Li couldn't be blamed. He truly had no idea what could have taken place for Gumong to be plodding through the cold winter night in a set of soaking wet ceremonial robes. Like a wandering ghost, like a demon trapped in the world of the living. Gumong! Hey, Gumong! Li Wei called. Gumong only paused for a moment, then he continued to walk toward his little hidey-hole den, head hanging low. He has his tail tucked between his... Oh, Gumong. How's it going? It's going. You're not allowed to be sad for face the camera. Okay, but it's okay if it makes me sad. It's like a good kind of sad, you know? It's a good kind of sad. You get to feel things. I love feeling things. Gumong. Li Wei hurried over and pulled him to a stop. What did you do? Why are you wearing the Lord's ceremonial robes? Don't you know how important these are? Don't you know... I know. Gumong spoke at last. His mind wasn't good anymore. Wasn't good anymore? As soon as he got sad, he couldn't keep his words straight and found it impossible to get his point across. He tried valiantly to express himself, but he could only wring out short and stiff sentences, clumsy and pathetic. I can understand. I tried to understand. He's so sad. In the frigid winter night, the wet robes stuck to his skin, each gust of wind chilling him to the bone. Who knew how long he had been trudging around barefoot? When he looked up at Li Wei, his lips were pale and trembling. I also want to understand. I also want to remember. But I can't. Gumong clutched his head in agony. I don't know what I did wrong. I keep doing things wrong. I'm always doing things wrong. That's why all of you treat me like this. Li Wei was stupefied. What had happened? Why did he have such a glaring red mark on his face? Why was there blood in his mouth? And why was he talking like this? Li Wei flinched and blurted, You didn't go to the hot spring in the rear courtyard because I told you to bathe, did you? Gumong said nothing. His lips pressed tightly together. Gumong. Oh god, this hits me in my little autistic heart so hard. It's like, what do you mean you told me to do something and now I'm doing it and then suddenly it's wrong? What do you mean? Oh my god. I need tissues. Are you crazy? Fuck you, Leeway. Fuck you, Leeway. Oh my god, Leeway. Fuck you. You're fine usually, but right now, fuck you. That's where the Lord bathes. He's a clean freak. Didn't I tell you already? Don't you know what status you have? Don't you know how... It seemed as if Gumong was terrified of hearing those words come out of yet another person's mouth. He shuddered violently and grabbed Li Wei's hand, stopping him mid-sentence. Trembling, Gumong tried his best to keep his face impassive, like a vanquished wolf trying to regain his dignity as he lay in a pool of his own blood. But as he blinked his blue eyes, they glimmered with a tearful light. He said in an unsteady voice, "Yes, I know. I'm dirty. I won't do it again. But..." His expression was hesitant, his lashes quivering. He suddenly choked up. He didn't even know why he was so upset. Gumong crouched, curling up into a tiny, pathetic ball. So many years have passed. He'd won, he'd lost. He'd been devoted. He'd been disloyal. But still, nothing could change the bone-deep lowliness in him. Just like before, he still had nothing, other than a body covered in scars and a long list of crimes. Just like before, he couldn't even touch the ribbon that represented the bloodline of heroes without being punished in the most painful way. I'm sorry, I need to grab my tissues right now. Oh my god. Oh my god. Autistic heart goes crazy. It is, though. It's because people tell you to do something, but they don't tell you how to do something. They just expect you to know, and then you try to do it, and then they're like, "Oh, fuck you, you did it wrong. You're the worst person ever, and you're stupid, and you're an idiot." Sorry, it's gotten a little deep, but this is what's happening right now in the book, so... He's so autistic coded. Okay. He buried himself in the dust, hanging his neck so low it seemed it had collapsed under some heavy thing he'd forgotten entirely. You didn't get it. None of you do. You don't get it. None of you do. His voice caught tearfully in his throat. It should have been mine. It should have been... Li Wei was completely at a loss. Although he could be foolish and was a gossipy blabbermouth, he'd always been a friendly person at heart. He held no grudges against Gumong, so the sight of this distraught man sobbing in front of him left him speechless. After a stretch of uneasy silence, he couldn't help but ask, "What should have been yours?" Oh god. Oh, but Gumong couldn't explain that either. What that ribbon meant, what it symbolized, represented, he couldn't remember any of it. He understood that it belonged to Moji, but he didn't know why he would feel such agonizing pain. What exactly should have been yours? Li Wei asked in exasperation. Everything in Jihe Manor belongs to the Lord. Even me and you. We all belong to the Lord. What can we have? Sighing, he patted Gumong's shoulder. Quick, get up and take off those clothes. If anyone else sees you wearing the ceremonial robes of the highest-ranked nobles, I'm afraid all of Jihe Manor would suffer alongside you. Gumong returned to his den of old furniture and shabby blankets. He felt no attachment to those sodden clothes and peeled them off as soon as he entered. After changing back into his only wrinkled cotton robe, he gave the ceremonial uniform back to Li Wei. Li Wei had initially wanted to say more to Gumong, but when he took the robes and saw the state Gumong was in, All he could do was sigh and turn to leave. He muttered to himself as he walked away. Thank goodness there are 2 sets of ceremonial robes. We'd be in big trouble otherwise. As Gumang sat down in the dimly lit dwelling, Fando awoke. The big black dog nuzzled up to him. As if he could smell his companion's heartbreak, he nudged Gumang with his warm head and whined as he licked his cheek. Gumang hugged the dog and whispered, "You don't think I'm dirty, right?" What how am I supposed to deal with this? This is an illustration, by the way, of Gumang hugging Fando and Fando like nuzzling into him. Oh, it's so cute. It's so precious. Fando wagged his tail and put a paw on Gumang's leg. In the dark, Gumang's eyes remained open. For the first time in his current awareness, he felt dissatisfied and hurt, but he didn't know how to interpret these 2 feelings. They made him very uncomfortable, as if he were sick, pain worse than being whipped in punishment. Gumang closed his eyes and patted Fando on the head. In a small voice, he said, "Fando, I don't think you're dirty either." Fando barked in reply. "Here, the 2 of us have food to eat." Gumang nuzzled Fando's damp little nose. "So I can bear it. Even if it hurts a little, it's fine." Fando barked again. Gumang pressed a hand to his chest and whimpered, "It's fine. It only hurts a little. I can handle it. It won't hurt anymore once I'm used to it. If I endure it, it'll pass. All of this will pass." And that's a fucking scene break. Oh god. I need to wipe these away. Ugh. Okay. Hi, Poppy. How are you? What the fuck? It's a great book. It's very sad all the time. I think I've cried with this book more than... Actually, I don't know. I've read a lot of books. But I've cried multiple times with this book. Ugh. Alright. Yeah, we only have a little bit left of this chapter, and after that I will probably stop because it is hard to read when there is so much snot in your nose from crying and your throat is closed up because of the tears. So yeah. Page 250. Early the next morning, Moji pushed open the door of his bedroom and stepped out, already clad in his lavish ceremonial robes. The residents of the manor looked forward to this day each year, because Jihajun looked particularly gallant in this uniform. But this time, when he arrived at the hall, the servants waiting there were shocked. Jihajun clearly hadn't slept a wink. His complexion was awful, and there were dark smudges beneath his eyes. He took a seat at the table, where Li Wei had already arranged the food. As usual, it was simple: 2 bamboo steamers of soup dumplings, 1 earthenware pot of fish porridge, a plate of sweet and sour crispy fish, pickled white radish, fiddleheads tossed in sesame oil, silken tofu, and a saucer of various desserts. I'm hungry. It was simple. It was simple. God, I want all of these so bad. I'm crying for a different reason now. Should I make fish? No, I shouldn't make fish. Moji sat at the table and didn't touch his chopsticks. My lord? Asked Li Wei carefully. Moji glanced at the empty seat across from him and said nothing. After a while, he ladled himself a bowl of porridge and began to eat in silence. The water clock, placed on the side table, dripped away. Moji took only a few bites before he stopped altogether, as though his appetite wasn't very good. He looked up at Li Wei. It's almost time. We need to head to the city's eastern gate to prepare for departure. He paused, then continued stiffly. Get him out, and have him accompany Jihe Manor's ceremonial team. I'll be leaving now. Li Wei acquiesced. Gumong must have done something to anger the Lord last night. Indeed, he must have infuriated him, Li Wei thought. The Lord had initially intended to give Gumong the role of personal guard so he could keep a close eye on him at all times. But now, it seemed as if Moji no longer cared, and he didn't want to see Gumong around. He had carelessly tossed him into the ceremonial team, as if nothing mattered so long as Gumong didn't get into trouble under his nose. Was venturing into a hot spring enough to provoke such fury? Li Wei felt a little nervous, but he didn't dare entertain any further conjecture. He was a smart man and knew very clearly that some matters were worse to know about than not. Curiosity was by no means the most difficult thing to endure. That honor belonged to secret keeping. That honor belonged to secret keeping. Thus Li Wei clung to his ignorance and shoved his fanciful thoughts to the back of his head. He went to the rear courtyard to fetch Gumong from his den as instructed. Gumong took no issue with their new arrangements. His broken mind had a silver lining. After a night's sleep, he'd calmed down a great deal. When Li Wei told him to go with the ceremonial weaponry team, he did so without objection. But Li Wei, still having his misgivings, Li Wei still had his misgivings. After he brought Gumong to the team, he gave the captain some instructions, as well as a cloth bag containing a jar of medicine. This is a pacifying medicine prescribed by Medicine Master Zhang. I reckon the Lord will see that he drinks it, but there's a chance that he might not, Li Wei warned. Anyway, you need to take good care of it. If Gumong doesn't want to drink it, you must force him to. This is a very serious matter. The captain agreed and accepted the jar. Thus, their journey began. And that's the end of the chapter. And I think... Wow. Yeah, that's where we're ending off today. Oh, the next chapter is called I'll Hold You. I'll hold you. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. That's chapter 56. I'm trying to see how many more readings this will be. 56 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 more chapters left. So maybe 3 more streams? 3, 6, 9. One of them will have to be a 4 chapter read. But yeah, about 3 more streams for reading this, and then we're done with this book, which is 3 is a lot, but we're over more than halfway through this, so that's great. I'm so sad. I'm very sad, but it's good. We like to feel. Period. We like to feel. I know this is. Listen, I know I just changed book readings to Wednesday, or Remnants of Filth readings to Wednesday, but I think next week I might have to do it on like Tuesday or Thursday or something. Just another day. Oh god. Oh god. because I've already scheduled a collab stream on that day, which is on me, but it's okay. Well, just you'll be fine. I know you can handle it. You're strong. You got this. But yeah, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I will simply skedaddle. Yes. Have a good day. Have a good rest of your day. Be safe and mask up. You just got here. I'm literally just ending. But hi, Mootopia. Hello, welcome. Hopefully you can catch another stream. Oh, you're so cute. Sorry, these stream avatars are just so fucking cute. Howdy, howdy. Oh god. Oh god. I've been crying a lot, so my voice is weird and my nose is funky. I'm gonna have to go. Again. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, which is probably Scummy Sunday over here on Twitch. And YouTube. Something else for actually I might finish. God damn. Steals me, no! No! I might finish the Raphael Mermussy card on Saturday because that collab got rescheduled. That one's the one that's rescheduled for Wednesday next week or something, probably. We'll see. But yeah, I might continue playing Love and Deep Space on Saturday, and then we'll have Scum Villain reading on Sunday as always. But yeah, that's all. That's all. And I will see you later, okay? Okay. We're not gonna raid anyone because I don't feel like it. So have a good day. Have a good rest of your day. I'll see you later. Bye bye.